I was asked a really cool question recently, and I know that some of you have joined this group. You are all about being even more visible, and the question that I was asked recently was this: how do you do visibility while still having the belief in your abilities? I thought this was such a great question. It's Wednesday, maybe it's time for some Wednesday wisdom, so I thought I would share it in here. So, by the way, if you are looking to conquer the belief in yourself about being able to be visible, and you've got questions or thoughts, do type them below. If you have had a struggle with this in the past and have conquered that, I want to hear from you about what you have done. I know that there's books and resources and people out there, and of course I too am a visibility expert, but what I want to hear is what you have done. And the reason that I'm asking you this straight off the bat is because within this group, so many of you inspire other people through your actions. You inspire people when you're frightened and you say, I don't know how to do this thing. You inspire people when you show up and you share your tips, for example. You inspire people when you comment on others' posts. You inspire people all of the time and likely don't realise. And this is hot in my veins, this topic about self-belief, because tomorrow, and depending on when you're watching this, so on Thursday the 26th of August, hopefully you're not watching this in January 2022, but if you are, you know, you missed a nugget, but there's still a possibility. But tomorrow sees the start of the Time to Shine 5-week live programme. So it's basically broken up into 5 weeks, but there's 3 very significant components. And where we're actually going to start is with the speaking to the audience, clarifying your message, clarity for you, knowing how to stand out in a sea of voices out there, especially online, but also actually offline. So this question is top of mind, A, because I've now been booked for 4 speaking gigs, which, yeah, all are going to be throughout September, and one might be October. I've been putting together Time to Shine and looking at how you grow your audience, what happens when that doesn't happen, why it's important, how you do visibility and build your business, especially if you're like a speaker, an author, a coach, a consultant, somebody who offers services. So I always say, who sells something that people can't see. You know, and it's not about making things tangible, by the way, but it's all about being able to put yourself out there and have people understand and know what you do without them being able to kind of look at it and feel it and poke it and touch it. There's a very different skill set to that than there is to selling a physical product that people can see or experience. So how do you put yourself out there and have the belief? Well, I could wax lyrical about this topic. I want to give you kind of 3 shares, literally off the top of my head, but there's a lot of things you can do. So I'm going to say in this case, if you don't feel that you have the self-belief, I would say there's 3 main things for you to do. And the first thing is, it's okay to be inspired by the people, but sometimes that can cause a form of comparisonitis that makes us feel less than. So you might be, watching Oprah and looking at somebody like Oprah and going, oh my gosh, she's so amazing, I'll never be like Oprah. So take note of where you are, the stage that you are at the moment, and look at where you want to get to next. I always say, and it's part of a visibility system that I created, but it's always really important to have a vision at the start. Even when, sorry, I've been necking pineapple juice, and even when clients start working with me, before we even have the first kind of like private call, this is when they work individually, they will receive a questionnaire. That questionnaire is designed to pull out of them their vision. It's not an exercise for me to pimp them out in any way. It purely helps them to start planting the seeds of what their vision is, what they want to do as they move forward. So if you are tussling with self-belief, you're worried about how you're going to put yourself out there, or you struggle with the concept in any way, even if it shows up for you as imposter syndrome and you've been doing it for years and you're very well known already, the first thing to do is to stop doing certain things. Now, what those stops are up to you. If you and I were having a one-on-one session, I would ask you like how it's showing up, what's going on, and then I'd be able to pull out of my toolkit and say, these are the things for you to stop doing, almost like a prescription, you know. Given your symptoms at A, B, and C, this is what I prescribe, you stop doing. So be very, I was going to say considerate, but that's not the right word. Be very aware of what takes you, like, literally, you know, when you're standing up and somebody was to come and kick your knees, you'd be like, oh, you know, be very aware of what takes you down at the knee. So whatever that thing is that you feel might start off with an inspiration and turns into that kind of moment, legs go, stop doing that. There'll be lots of things, but there'll be one thing that makes a huge difference. Let me share a true story. Some of you may know in 2010 I lost twins halfway through the twin pregnancy, and I'm not being glib or brushing over it or burying my head in the sand. It was an extremely painful and raw time. But one of the things that I found very helpful to start off with was I was in a lot of groups, like bereavement groups, especially for bereavement of babies or pregnancy loss. And I remember being in those groups, reading other people's stories, and there was a part of me when I first started like joining those groups where I would get a very strong sense of, oh my gosh, this thing happened to that person, that's got to be far worse, oh my gosh. And it would almost feel like it would put me in perspective, you know, things could have been worse for me, but I'm still here, I'm still alive to tell the tale. But after a certain amount of time, I would read people's posts. I would start off feeling like that, and then I would end up feeling like going from waking up and thinking, I actually feel okay today, to going into these groups, reading people's other accounts, thinking, oh my gosh, that must have been so much worse for them. And at some point, there was a tipping point where I would come out of the group in a bit of a state. I don't know how else to say it. Oh my gosh, this is so awful. When I ever get over this, you know. And grief is a funny thing. For anyone who's experienced grief, it's a funny thing. It comes in waves at times. So what I noticed within myself was, what was it that would, you know, bolster me, support me, and at what moment? It's like I needed to find out the exact moment. What was the thing, the circumstance, the word, the scenarios that would transform that, but not in a great way, into something like, oh my gosh. So I would say with being visible, it's exactly the same. There are things that empower you and things that just sort of, you know, derail you. So the first thing I would say is like, stop doing that. Which kind of, maybe I've said it in the wrong order, but the next piece will be like the pill of noticing. I laugh that if I was a doctor, Dr. Kovac would provide you the pill of noticing. And it's important to notice what helps you on your visibility journey and what doesn't. Really, really important. Because in the journey of being visible, there's a lot of self-promotion that you have to do. There's no smoke and mirrors or lies that you have to buy into. Don't buy into that. It's very inauthentic. But there's a lot of self-promotion that you have to do. There's a lot of picking yourself back up and dusting yourself back off. And I can honestly say that will never change. I know this because some of my clients have been, you know, like 6-figure, 7-figure, multiple 7-figure clients. I've had one client who's been an 8-figure client. And this shows up all the time, but it shows up in different ways. There could be kind of weak spots in other areas of our life: health, wellness, fitness, finances, relationships. And that could be the thing that seemingly takes us down and stops us from wanting to be visible. So it can sharpen lots of different ways. So having the awareness of what that is super, super important. So make sure that you have that awareness. So to recap, look at what you need to stop doing Look at, the pill of, prescribe yourself the pill of noticing. And then the next thing that I would say is, I think that being visible is an inside job. It might look like, well, outside, that person's got the confidence. And the reason that I can show up confidently on camera like this, with a concept that I want to speak about, with no script, and answer any questions when people come on, and not be frightened if nobody shows up live, 1,000 people show up live, people ask me questions, people question my methods. The reason that I can do that is because I have a self-assured assurity, like within. And one of the things that I was tinkering with yesterday on week 4 of Time to Shine, I was looking at how I can enhance the experience that the participants will be going through to help them shore up their own self-assurity. So I'm really excited to be working on that, with that. And there's a couple of exercises I know that have not only helped me over the years, that have helped my clients. And what I tend to do is, whatever I teach out there aren't experiments. They tend to be things that have worked really well for me, so that I can experience the highs, the lows, the good, the bad and the ugly, but also things that have worked well for clients. So there's an exercise that really helps with that. So the third point that I would make is, visibility is an inside job. You can help shore up that confidence by reading books, watching, Netflix, true stories, webinars, learning about people that have already done it. But if you want to kind of accelerate that process, then do it where you hone into specifically what it is for you. Here's the thing about places like YouTube that I love, but also can sometimes slow us down. There's a mine of information there. So if you're in a state of, Jenny, I don't have the money, I can't invest in a coach or a mentor, that's fine, you can go there. The thing is, it's not bespoke to you, and that's the difference between going into like a small group or a mentoring situation, coaching situation. Like, you and the coach and the mentor can have a look at specifically what's going on for you and work on that. And it's the reason why so many people will experience, and they'll say to me, it's almost like, oh my gosh, we're just a few weeks in, or we're just a couple of sessions in, and I feel so much more confident. I hear that a lot privately, because people are doing the inner work. Yes, I'm telling them what to do on the outside to be more visible, but I'm also helping them shore up that confidence on the inside, and it's bespoke to them. So if you can, obviously I'd love you to work with me, but if you can't do that at the moment, then by all means work with somebody and make sure they're the right person for you that will get you what you need. And by the way, if it popped into your head, but Jenny, I can't work with you, my question is, how do you know? Have you booked a call with me? Have you told me what's going on for you? Have you looked at the various different ways you can work with me? You don't have to just work with me one-to-one privately. We've got Time to Shine that starts the next day from the time of recording this video. I have a 3-day event that's coming up. It's going to be a live event, very interactive, very content rich and action orientated for you to go implement. So there's that. And of course there is working with me one-to-one privately. And the beauty of booking the call with me is that if we're speaking and the thing that you need, I can't help you with, I can say, you know what, here's what you need to do, here's who you need to go and see, here's the book that you need to read, let me refer you on to somebody else. So you'll find out very quickly. Anyway, that's it for now. So stop doing all of the comparisonitis that doesn't serve you. Make sure that you prescribe yourself the pill of noticing, so you noticed within yourself what works for you and at what point it doesn't, which is really important point of focus. And I've forgotten the third point already, but you can go back and watch this video again. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.